Wrestling fans around the corner, around the world, I'm Dan Marotti.
And this is WWE Hall of Famer, Mr. USA, Tony Atlas.
Tony, the fans might have missed you back on January 19th. We had a little bit of snow in the Boston area, but you're going to be back Friday night, March the 1st, right here at MWF Studios. We want the fans to come down. Admission is free.
Yes, and not only that, Boston Media is the best. It's the beast of the East. SOS, simply out of sight. Often imitated, but never duplicated.
I don't think anyone could duplicate what you and I created.
No, because it's raw.
Because I'll tell you this, there's many...
No strip, just say what we think, say what we mean. It's raw.
Many people tried to copy what we did with the Iron Sheik in this studio, and they were never able to get the recipe right, so to speak.
Right. The original is always better than the rest.
Absolutely. Tony will also be available for autographs and pose photos for a nominal fee. And again, while admission is free, we want you to come on down to the TV studio. Whether you're in Boston or anywhere around the world, we need as much fan support as possible. We have great items for sale on BostonWrestling.com. We're starting to use eBay more. The more fans that participate in getting these shows produced, the more Tony will be here. I know, Tony, our goal has been to try and get you here on a weekly basis if the fans will support it.
Yes, you know, and one thing about Boston Media that it does for a lot of us legends, Vince does a lot for us, but he keeps us undercover a lot. But with Boston Media, you can get to see Tony, you get to see the Iron Sheik, you can get to see the Tito Santana, and come and meet us live and listen to some of our stories, because some of the things that we did in our younger days, a lot of it being legal today, first of all.
Very true.
But it was a different world, and I was lucky to see the old world and see the coming of the new world.
WWE isn't going to produce a 3-DVD set for every superstar they ever had under contract. That's why these types of shows are so important, especially where we lose so many legends on a yearly basis. So again, we send out the invitation to you Friday night, March the 1st, right here at MWF Studios, Melrose, Massachusetts. Check out BostonWrestling.com for complete event information. Wrestling fans around the corner, around the world, I'm Dan Marotti.
And I'm WWE Hall of Famer, Mr. USA, Tony Atlas.
We want to wish you a happy Valentine's Day, and what interesting content as we take some of your questions after we catch up on the latest news. Infinity Key, a truly natural online language training experience. 25,000 minutes, that's what you'll need to invest. Invest 25,000 minutes with Infinity Key, and we'll build you a portfolio of language experiences designed to accelerate your personal progress. The coach will help you strike the right balance between passive acquisition and active application of your target language. InvestKey's algorithms and coaches guide you along the clearest, quickest path forward on your journey to fluency. Visit www.infinitykey.rocks for more information, and follow Infinity Key on Facebook at facebook.com/InfinityKey.
This is Mick Foley.
This is Harley Race.
This is Shelton Benjamin.
This is Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff.
This is the Monster Abyss.
And this is Daniel Bryan.
This is JBL, and you're watching the MWF.
Be there live.
All right, wrestling fans, welcome back. I'm Dan Marotti, joined by
Mr. USA, WWE Hall of Famer, Tony Atlas.
Wrestling fans, what a night in Houston, Texas. It was Elimination Chamber tonight. WWE Raw emanates from one of your old stomping grounds, Lafayette, Louisiana, at the Cajun Dome, Tony.
Oh, my goodness.
Unbelievable.
Oh, yes.
Well, Tony, I tell you this, we continue to discuss some of the great African-American superstars over the weekend. We had our long-form Memories and Legends episode about some great African-American Hall of Famers. We also had special little mini episodes on Shelton Benjamin and Bad News Brown.
That's right.
This week we're going to flash back, or maybe not even flash back isn't even the right word. We're going to focus on a superstar that you can see every week on Monday Night Raw, a man that I consider to be a very high-class gentleman, a world-class elite athlete with a background outside of wrestling and in wrestling. A man that really cares about his community out in Denver, Colorado. He really gives back to the kids out there, and much like Shelton is a great dad himself. We're talking about the man, the Intercontinental Champion, Bobby Lashley.
Yes, and Bobby Lashley, I would say, not only a great athlete, But I mean, what a body this guy got on.
Yeah.
I mean, he got one of the best physiques. And, you know, and he's not a spring chicken anymore either.
I hate to say it, Tony, but he's another individual that's older than me.
Yes, but not only that, but he looked absolutely fantastic. And I think one of the best moves that Bobby Lashley did himself was returning to the WWE, because he tried other places, but that's his home.
It was a long time coming.
Yep, that's where he belongs. He fits in like a hand in glove, and as you notice, when he was there the first time, the competition for him was not as great. Now on his sucker return, as you notice, he's a great athlete, not taken from him, but he don't stand out as much against the other talent that he did in his earlier year. Like if you take a young Tony Atlas and put him in the ring today, I would not stand out today in the ring the way I did in the 80s, because the competition as far as physiques are concerned, when you look at Drew McIntyre, I mean, you know, guys like that. When I first started, guys like me and Bobby Lashley was you could get, it was a rarity.
Hard to find.
Very hard to find. Yeah. I mean, when you look at all the great bodies in wrestling back in my day, it was Superstar Billy Graham, Rocky Johnson, myself, Ultimate Warrior, but he came not into the 80s, but when you go back in the 70s, you look at all the pictures and everything. Now when you look at all the guys, I mean, all these guys have fantastic physiques now. And so Bobby Lashley, I'm happy for him, and he deserves it. But I think that he made the right move, and I just hope that he humbled himself. I don't know if he is, but I hope he do humble himself so that he could.
That's always been the impression I've had from him. I've always had great interactions with Bob.
If he humble himself the way Mark Henry did, and he maybe have a great run like Mark Henry did. As far as all the black athletes that ever been to the WWE, there have never been a black athlete that been there longer than Mark Henry.
Right.
You know, Mark Henry is a very, very smart individual. He represents the WWE in a very, very professional way. I've rolled with him, traveled with Mark Henry, and Bobby Lashley. I've rolled and traveled with him, and Booker T. That's another guy that really, really represents the company. And being a black man, when I see Mark Henry, I told him this myself. He makes me feel proud.
That's a nice thing to say to someone.
He one of the very few guys that never did anything in his career to hurt his career or anyone else's. He always had been there on time. He hate to be late. Bobby Lashley in the same way, Booker T in the same way, and all three of them gentlemen have been a great contribution to pro wrestling. Mark Henry conducted himself way, way, way better than Tony Atlas. Booker T did the same thing. Also, you take like Bobby Lashley. He represented himself, and I thought for a while when he left Vince and went to the opposition there. Yeah, and then he turned around and went to another organization. He left them when Hogan came in. And now he's back where he belongs, and I wish him all the best. He's a very, very outstanding person. Got a lot of respect for him, a lot of respect.
What a lot of fans don't realize, Tony, is that Bobby was a participant in the biggest money match in the history of professional wrestling. That's not to compare it to a legendary match like Hogan and Andre, so to speak. But as far as what it generated revenue-wise and publicity-wise, it was Bobby Lashley, who had Donald Trump in his corner, against Umaga, with Vince McMahon in his corner, and Steve Austin was the referee back at WrestleMania 23.
Now think about this. How many wrestlers walking the face of the earth could say that I had the President of the United States one time as my corner man? See what I'm saying?
The publicity for that match was everywhere leading into WrestleMania. They did a great job promoting that event.
And now the guy that managed him in the corner is the leader of our country. So what better honor for Bobby Lashley to have, no matter what title he won, no matter how much weights he lived, ain't nothing he ever gonna do gonna top the fact that he at one time had the President of the United States as his manager. You know, that is, you know, he could go in the history books. If you ever do a story on Donald Trump, you could not do the story now without mentioning Bobby Lashley. He made history.
He did?
He made history.
And
the only other wrestler that came that close to a U.S. president was Mr. Wrestling #2, Johnny Walker, when he went to the White House with his mask on to meet Jimmy Carter. And we
Another
thought
cool story. Yep.
And we thought that was the greatest thing in the world because he walked in the White House with a mask on.
But Jimmy Carter wasn't doing angles at WrestleMania.
No, or throwing clothesline on Vince Jr.
Yeah.
So I think he had, like I said, a lot of things that we take for granted, and when we look back on it, we found out how wonderful that experience was. Not only was it a big match, the guy that managed him ended up becoming the 45th, 46th president, 45th president of the United States. So he always going to be connected to the president from this point on, just because of McMahon. WWE is always going to be connected to the president. So Vince had took wrestling and made it bigger than just wrestling, because we not only connected to the government with Linda McMahon. I think it's an excellent position for her to be in charge of small business, because the WWE started as a small business and went from being a small business to one of the largest corporate business in the world.
A global empire.
A global empire.
Yes.
So if anybody know how to bring a small business up to a big business, his choice with Linda McMahon was the best choice he ever made. Best choice he ever made.
I think it's disappointing, Tony. We just talked about probably the peak of Bobby's wrestling career at WrestleMania 23. Just a few months later, and later in 2007, Bobby Lashley was gone from WWE.
Yes.
There was some issues that he and his now ex-wife had with the company. Many have said race-related. And for him to have been gone from that company for the better part of 10 years, I think the wrestling fan really lost out. I think WWE really lost out. And I think Bobby Lashley lost out on some very lucrative paydays over that 10 years.
But I'm going to make this plain to all wrestling fans in the world. I'm probably the guy that's been in wrestling longer than a lot of people. There's very few people still living that say that I have been involved in the business longer.
Next year will be your 6th decade.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. And not only as a wrestler, but I wrestle in every state in the United States. I wrestle in every territory that they ever had. I wrestle in Olympia Stadium when it was territory, Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Florida, AWA, Canada, Japan, everywhere. And the one thing that I have never, and anybody ever say this, they are wrong. Wrestling had never, a wrestler had been never judged on his race. Every promoter I ever worked for, they only look at one thing and one thing only. How many asses can you put in the seat? Vince Sr. and Vince Jr. could care less what color you are. You could be purple. And if you could sell out Madison Square Garden every time he book you, you're going to be the champion. If you could fill every arena in the United States, he's going to use you. If you fill up the Superdome in New Orleans, he's going to use you. Undertaker is not a spring chicken.
No.
But Undertaker is there for one reason and one reason only. Undertaker, when they put his name on the roster, he put asses in the seat. John Cena is there because John Cena is one of the best marketing people that Vince McMahon had. The only other person that probably sold as much at one time merchandise as John Cena was Jeff Hardy. He was
yes,
the number,
he sure did.
And that's why
he
he's back. Even with all the problem that Jeff Hardy had in his personal life,
yep.
Vince still bring it back because he put money in Vince's pocket with merchandise. At one time in 2008, 2009, when I was there, up until 2010 when I left, he was the highest marketer for merchandise. His merchandise outsold everybody.
It's worth saying, Tony. You know what? I made a...
It ain't about color
Hold on one sec, though. With Jeff Hardy, I just said a minute ago, I almost... It wasn't meant as a cheap shot as far as his personal problems that he's had. but to show how hot he was.
Yes.
When he wound up leaving in the summer of 2009, I was told by people within that company, he was offered a contract because of the merchandising and his popularity that even The Undertaker couldn't get.
Yeah.
That's how hot Jeff Hardy was at that point.
Yeah.
And how much he meant to WWE.
Yeah.
He still wound up leaving, and because of the, where he ran into the drug problems the next month after he left, it's probably a good thing.
Yeah.
But that just, to me, shows how hot Jeff Hardy was to get a deal put on paper to him that even The Undertaker couldn't get.
Yeah. And it goes back to my point.
And he's a genuinely kind human being.
He's
very nice.
Him and Matt. You couldn't beat nicer
people. You might read on the internet about his past drug issues.
No.
He's a genuinely kind human being.
Oh, yeah.
Jeff, I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah, I know. And he had a little dog, and I used to call him Doggy Woggy. And he used to always laugh about that. Hey, he's a hell of an artist.
He is. Yeah,
he's a fantastic artist. He's a great family man, too. He got a heart of gold. He's about one of the nicest people you ever want to meet in your life.
Very nice guy.
Very nice, and one of the best athletes. But even with all of his personal problems, Vince was only looked at one thing. This guy, that. And people always say, people always say, well, you got with me because of my color, because of my sex. No. He got a spot. You in that spot. You making him $100,000 a year. Is a guy sitting over here looking for a spot that make him $300,000 a year. So you take the $300,000 a year guy, put him in your spot. Now you say you gone because of your color. No, you gone because you can't do $300,000.
Right.
And it's business. It got nothing to do with color, got nothing to do with race. And when I hear people use that as an excuse, if they have worked harder, like me, for example, I can't talk about other people, I can only talk about myself. I know for a fact, and not trying to blow my own horn, that I could have been as big as Jimmy Snuka, Ronnie Piper, and Hogan. I know I had that ability. I knew because everywhere they put me.
It's very conceivable
with
how hot you were at that time.
Right, yeah, you could check history. I sold out Madison Square Garden every time I went there.
It's not speculation,
I sold
it out.
I sold out Madison Square Garden. Now, if you sell out Madison Square Garden, I sold out the Superdome. I sold out the Meadowlands. I sold out the Spectrum. I sold out everywhere I went. But I had one problem.
Feet.
With that, my head was in the wrong place. My head was in the wrong place, and I lost appreciation for where I was at.
I just wanted, Tony,
I got the big head.
Before you continue to maybe younger fans that can't exactly appreciate what Tony just said, what would be comparable to selling out Madison Square Garden every month nowadays would be headlining monthly pay-per-views that WWE has. That's what MSG was up until the pay-per-view era began.
That's right.
So
that was our pay-per-view right there.
Tony was, the best way I can describe you, Tony, to when you were at your peak, was a kind of akin to Goldberg.
Yeah.
You were someone that wasn't in the business all that long.
That's right.
You were explosive in the ring.
Right off the bat.
Your popularity was through the roof. And it was almost like a phrase I think you've heard in the title of your book, Too Much Too Soon.
Too much too soon.
Right.
I have instant glory.
Right.
I mean, Johnny Weaver told me when I first started, because the way I looked back in them days, he said, Tony, when you walk through the door, you are over with the fan. He said, you could do in one night what it would take me a year to do. Yeah. I would have to work a year to get to where you could get in one match in one night. And that's what the ability that I had, but I didn't have the common sense to go with it. And every wrestler that never really made it, if they want to find out the reason for not making it, only thing that wrestler has to do is go in the bathroom and look in the mirror. Wow. Because Vince could only give you an opportunity. What you do with that opportunity is not up to Vince, it's up to you. When Vince tells you to make a show, it ain't up to Vince, you making that show. You always, once he tell you where to be, you are responsible to yourself to be there. And if you don't show up like I did, you can't blame Vince if we release you. If Vince say, I don't want, we drug test randomly. And if you fail the drug test more than 3 times, you will be terminated.
Hit the road.
Now, if you get terminated, you can't say, well, this guy smoked pot and you didn't get rid of him, why you getting rid of me? It don't matter if he got with the other guy, you still broke the rule. 2 wrongs don't make a right. So anybody, when I first went there, Johnny Waz told me, said, Tony, these people will make you a millionaire. But he said, if you screw him one time, they will never trust you again. Ernie Ladd, the guy that got me into the WWE, when I left, Ernie came to me and he asked me this. He said, "What do you do to them people? What do you do to them people?" Ernie not once thought that Vince screwed me. Ernie knew right from the jump stream when he heard that I was gone that I have to do something to destroy.
Because you were such a valuable commodity.
Exactly.
Right.
So he knew it had nothing to do with me. Captain Lou Albano used to say, "Tony, they're going all the way with you." He told me that all the time. He said, "If you don't mess it up, they are going to go all the way with you."
But you messed it up.
Unless I mess it up. And I was black. So why is he telling a black person they're going to go all the way with him? They wasn't looking at color. They never looked at color. Never in wrestling. I know a lot of guys may feel like that, but what Vince goes by, if you bring in a guy like when Paul Orndorff come in, I mean, he was like me. He got over right away.
Right.
So there probably were some guys that lost their position to Paul Orndorff. Well, Paul is only there because he's white. No, Paul outdraw you. See? He wasn't there because he was white. Vince don't put nobody in no spot because of their color. Nobody.
I've said many times, Tony, to people, the biggest, and I say this as your friend, the biggest problem you have
with me
is that, well, not only that you couldn't hold it together even a few more years to get the top tier position you had when WWE really hit its peak in 86, 87, 88, 89.
That's true.
You were either an undercard guy or even gone at that point. If you were still a top guy at that point, you'd be worth so much more money now on your bookings. You'd be able to command such a higher fee if you main evented then.
That's
if
right.
You were able just to hold off on the shoes and the drugs just a little bit longer.
Just a little bit longer. That's right. That's right. I couldn't
wait to party. Your quality of life would be different.
Yeah.
You know? And I say that because I care.
See, I felt at that time that I was invincible.
Yeah.
I said, how are you going to replace me? Who's going to replace Tony Atlas? And what I was thinking. Then, out of nowhere, came a guy named Hogan that replaced everybody. Okay?
Not just you.
That replaced not just me. Everybody got replaced by this guy. So and then after him came Paul Orndorff, then Macho Man Randy Savage, then Bob Orton Jr. And then I looked around, I said, "Hey, Tony, there's a lot of replacement for you." But I was looking at it with Tony Gurrier, Chief J. Strongbow, Dominic DeNucci.
SD,
SD.
These are people that were comparable to the physique of your local plumber or something like that.
There was no way Vince was going to get rid of me when he had that group, not taking nothing from them.
They just didn't look the way you did.
They wasn't the draw that Paul Orndorff and Randy Savage was.
Right.
So I had no competition in that field.
Right.
So I got to play, hey, you can't replace me. Who you going to replace me with? Dominic DeNucci?
Right.
Pedro Morales?
There was nobody to do it at that point.
Nobody could touch me. So instead of me keeping my nose to the grindstone and doing what I was supposed to do, I decided to, push my weight around a little bit. And Vince told me, he said, "Tony, your only problem was that you forgot who owned the company." But even with all that, he brought me back in 91 to do Saba Simba. It didn't work out, but instead he thought about me.
97, you had a little mini
came
run.
that close to bring me back in 97.
Yep.
To work with Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, at that time. That's right. He almost did something at that point, but he changed because not because of anything I did. They wanted to go a different route with The Rock. They didn't want to do the Peter Mavios no more. That when he changed over after 97, when he left from being Rocky Mavios to The Rock.
And they put him with the Nation of Domination.
Exactly. They turned him heel and everything. They want to be a baby face and had me to wrestle him.
There was intent there, though.
Oh, yes.
There was intent.
To use Tony Atlas and that. And then I didn't hear from Vince again until 2006.
For the Hoth?
Right. And that was mainly responsible for Mark Henry. Mark Henry made a suggestion to bring me in to be his manager.
Really? That was Mark's suggestion?
That was Mark's suggestion.
I didn't know that. That's great to know.
But then when they switched Mark over to Raw, they had no place for me in 2009. So Vince decided to put me with Abraham Washington. Now, he could have let me go right then. Because I was right. Yeah. But Vince decided to bring me in again because I didn't screw up. Then I figured I was all said and done. Next thing I know, I'm playing golf at Mohegan Sun with Sergeant Slaughter. I'm a Goodwill ambassador for a year. I'm going around playing golf and making money and getting all the perks there. And going to the wrestling school and talking to the wrestlers, help training. When I went to school, Natalie Neidhart was there. Sheamus was there at the school when I went there. And guess who used to ride me around?
Who?
Titus.
Really? Now this is a guy, I got to say.
And now he's on Fox News on the Gary Guntley show.
I have to say, Tony.
But he was my chauffeur.
To Tony, I have to say this about the man. He's one of the worst full-time wrestlers I've ever seen in that company, as far as match by match. But what a man when it comes to doing good for his community. What a man to represent the WWE brand when they send him out. That's a good human being, no matter what the matches may look like at the end of the day. When it comes to the inside of him, he's a great human being.
He's a great individual. And now look at Titus. He's on the Greg Gunkel show.
Yeah, he's all over the place.
On Fox, on Fox TV, the #1 news channel in the world, and he's on there.
Yeah.
So and here's a guy that used to chauffeur me around in Florida. You know, he was doing the training camp. Then Vince decided to do a thing from Legend House.
Yeah.
And he put me on Legend House. So even with all my screw-ups and everything, Vince always reached back because he knew that there was something about Tony Atlas that he could make money with.
All right, Tony, I'm hearing the buzz in the background. That means we're running out of time. Real quick, have you had a chance to see on Raw over the past maybe 2 or 3 months Lashley's manager, Leo Rush?
No.
He has a great little mouthpiece with him. I want you to, over the course of the next year, I want you to check him out maybe next year on Black History Month.
Okay.
We can discuss him. One of the great cruiserweights of this generation, a man we've had right here in this studio, great heart, but certainly has found his role almost as an old school type manager. Bobby, for better or worse, isn't exactly a great promo. They found the guy to put with him that is the great promo, and they are one hell of a package each and every week on Monday Night Raw. As noted,
see that.
Lashley just got the Intercontinental title. But before we go, one more question, Tony. Lashley was the ECW champion. He had the big match with Umaga at WrestleMania with Trump in his corner. He was the United States champion on SmackDown before he left. Now in 2019, he's Intercontinental champion. As a veteran of this great sport that has seen it all, done it all, what advice could you give to Bobby Lashley to become the guy in WWE? Or one of the guys in WWE. It seems like he's just a step there, missing from it. If you need to
Bobby Lashley only have to remember one thing. Every wrestler there, and this is not knocking the boys, we all know this. Most of that we found out after our career is over with, unfortunately. You know how people always say, all you guys are friends. No, they are your business associate. Always remember this, Bobby. The only person that you need to respect and listen to, and if you are going to consider as your friend, is whoever signs your checks. If they don't sign your check, their job is to make sure you don't get a check. Not personally. It ain't a personal thing. It's business. If McDonald's have a chance to put Burger King out of business, they do it in a heartbeat.
Right.
If Popeye Chicken could put Kentucky Fried Chicken out of business, they do it in a heartbeat. It ain't personal. It's business. Every wrestler in that dressing room would love for Bobby Lashley to leave so that they could take his spot. I did not realize this till my career was over. The only person that Bobby should talk to when he have a problem is Vince. No one else. No one else. Talk to Triple H, talk to Stephanie, talk to Shane, talk to Vince. Talk to no one else. I remember I went and talked to Vince one time, and he wanted me to put over Hercules Hernandez. That when Slick was our manager.
1986.
And, yeah. Excuse me.
God bless.
And as me and Vince talked, Vince told me what he was going to do. He was going to dye my hair blonde and turn me heel.
We talked about this once on the phone.
As he walked out the door, George the Animal Steel was listening through the keyhole and hearing everything we said. Now Vince can't do it.
Why?
Because I didn't want to do the job. And Vince said, if you do the job for me, if you do this for me, Tony, I will work an angle with you and Hercules, and I guarantee you when it's all said and done, you will win over Hercules and Nana.
And they wound up giving that opportunity to Butch Reed, because he came in with the blonde hair, not long after you left.
Because if it's an old saying in wrestling, telephone, telegraph, and tele-wrestling. Once Vince found out that I was able, once the boys found out that I was able to get Vince to do what I wanted him to do, then Vince knew that the other wrestlers were going to try the same thing. They would do that too. They would say, hey, you did it for Tony Atlas, how come you can't do that for me? You know, you let Tony Atlas, tell Tony Atlas that if he do this, you do that. How come you going to tell me to do something and don't offer me nothing? See what I'm saying? So it was a give and take with me and Vince, because I was getting ready to walk out on him again. And it was in Poughkeepsie. No, I didn't. In Poughkeepsie, New York. I got fired later. Okay. I got fired. That's right before I went to Texas. But this was the time you were talking 85. I said, Vince, I put over everybody you want me to put over.
Well, this is August of '86 when you left.
Right. And I told him, I said, look, I'm not putting over no more people. And he said, Tony, I had to do that to test you. He said, but after this match, the test is over. In fact, the week before that, I beat Bundy in St. Louis, Missouri.
Did you?
Yes, and we had a rematch to come back on St. Louis, Missouri. And I missed the show because I arrived with Dawg. Dawg went to the ghetto to get some cocaine, and by the time he got his cocaine, we was in a limousine. We flew there on a private jet. It was right after we did Vince talk show, TNT program. We did TNT, and I was getting ready to go to my the airport to catch my flight. And Vince said, no, don't catch no flight. He said, I want you to make sure Dawg get there. But Dawg was a bigger star than me at that time, and I couldn't tell Dawg what to do. And he had a limousine to take him to the ghetto to get cocaine. We went from house to house to house. By the time we get to the arena, Bundy was coming out of the ring. George Well took my place that night. Sure did. And Bundy put me over the month before. Wow. You see what I'm saying?
I hear you.
So Vince was slowly going to work me back into things. But then when he overheard, when George still overheard the conversation that went on between me and Vince, then Vince knew he couldn't do it now. 'Cause now the boys know.
They know. Well, that was kind of atypical George Steele, right? I know you're not his biggest fan.
Yeah.
You don't miss him.
No.
Tony, real quick before we go, I hear the music in the background. With everything you see in WWE in 2019, Bobby Lashley has the look, the athletic ability, the pedigree with his background outside of wrestling, his spirit as a human being where he puts a lot of goodwill into the world and his community in Denver. He's a great dad. He's found the perfect mouthpiece if they want to use him as a heel with Lio Rush. Do you think Lashley could be one of the top 5 faces in WWE right now? Does he have that potential? Top 10, if not top 5.
It remains to be seen.
Remains to be seen. All right, for the Hall of Famer Tony Atlas, I'm Dan Marotti. Till we speak again, folks, we'll see you next Monday. You and yours be well.